Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the world. Welcome to Gift of Healing TV. I'm Sarah Jane, and I am delighted for this program to be joined by Claire O'Connor. Claire, thank you so much for agreeing to join us today.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure, Sarah Jane. An honor to be here and always happy to contribute to everybody's life journey.
Thank you so much. And in that respect, our conversation, we're going to be talking to you about giving the world the best of you rather than what is left of you. But first, I'm going to introduce folks to you with your bio. Claire is a professional executive and leadership coach with decades of experience in education, well-being, and coaching. Her background in sports, TV, and media has equipped her to coach individuals, teams, and leaders across diverse fields. As CEO and founder of Bright Life Coaching, she offers Zenith Grow coaching and consulting for small businesses and corporate teams to maximize potential. Zenith Back to Brilliance, a 12-week online program for women, and one-to-one bespoke coaching and workshops. Claire's research includes burnout in the workplace and women in leadership. Her journey from a farm in rural Ireland through experiences in media, film, and elite sports shaped her holistic approach. A woman of zest, Claire is passionate about family, adventure, sports, music, and travel. Claire, thank you so much for joining us and bringing your experience that you're going to share.
It is like I said, it's my absolute pleasure. And that was a bit of an introduction there, but thank you very, very much. And it's a pleasure to be here.
So let's start with share a little of your story and why this particular sort of topic. What's the passion for this behind this for you?
Yeah, well, I suppose, Sarah Jane, it all starts with your own journey, and we all have a journey, and we all started somewhere, and we all travel along our life's journey to what end? To, hopefully live a fulfilling life. And as we all know, we pass on, and that is life. And unfortunately, a lot of us get stuck in the weeds of life, and I was no different myself. And I suppose what's really relatable for everyone is we all get stuck in the weeds at some stage. There's always a time in life when we're a little bit stuck somewhere or another. It just happened to me a few times in a few different areas of my life. And I guess that's what brought me to coaching, that brought me to a place where I wanted to empower other people through one-to-one coaching and developing programs and working with teams. And I guess as well, I felt for a long time that I was a jack of all trades, and I didn't really learn the full sentence until way later in my life. And I kind of felt like I was judging myself all of the time because I was a jack of all trades. I was very interested in sport and music and Irish language and entertainment and TV. And, there was just music and singing. And there was so many things that I almost judged myself for that, thinking, well, I'm not really good at anything. But the question was, by whose standards? And we all set our own standards, and I set my standards, and I like to have standards. I'm not going to apologize about that, but I took it too far, and then I used to think, oh, perfectionism set in a little bit. I'm not good enough. And this is a story I told myself. So bringing it back to that, the jack of all trades is the master of none. I didn't learn the end of the sentence until the last few years, which is a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than the master of one. And William Shakespeare wrote that quote. And honestly, I judged myself on William Shakespeare's his mantra for a long, long time. And then I learned that there was a way forward to bring all of the skills and my work in well-being facilitation and education and, my experience in working as part of a collaborative team in sport, working and doing the hard work on a farm in Ireland. And I actually fell into coaching accidentally, but I did learn how to give the world the best of me rather than what was left of me by really focusing on me. all of my life, I was really, really busy focusing on everybody else, trying to help. Now, in a good way, we all want to help. I mean, it's the greatest thing we can do is to help others. And we get more satisfaction out of that than actually helping ourselves. But it was in helping myself that I was able to help other people. And it started with simple things, Sarah Jane. It started with, coming back down to earth, grounding in such a simple way. Modern day, we have not caught up to the speed of modern day life. And we have not actually evolved as human beings to stay at that pace. We have not evolved at the speed of technology. And often we don't give ourselves permission to just be the human beings that we were supposed to be before all of modern day living caught on. And so I had to bring myself back to basics. I had to discover what my window of tolerance is. So I would ask people listening, what is your window of tolerance? What standards are you holding for yourself? How much can you actually take on mentally, physically, and emotionally to give the world the best of you, rather than overdoing it and ending up just giving them what's left over? And women especially struggle with this. And I always like to address it that way because I've studied it for so long, and we've seen the trajectory of burnout in the workplace and burnout in life. It's now a silent epidemic, and it affects women particularly. It also affects men, but it's just not as obvious. And with all of those things combined, that's what brought me to that mantra of give the world the best of you. Slowing down, learning some coaching tools, using some positive psychology, grounding, and all these simple things add up to being very, very, very self-aware so that you can be the best version, you can reach your maximum potential without the stress, without the severe feeling of lack or perfectionism or procrastination or imposter syndrome or all of those things which have taken us over as human beings due to the emphasis on mental capacity, IQ, etc., etc.
Oh, and absolutely. And yeah, sort of listening to sort of what you were saying. So it's giving the world the best of you, but you have to start with you.
Exactly.
How can you've got to give you the best of you before you can give the world the best of you. And that's the important thing, isn't it? That it has to start with you. If you don't think about and consider and care about yourself and your energies, then you can't give anything to anybody.
Well, the fact of the matter is, Sarah Jane, if you have used up all of your energy on other things, there's nothing for you, and then there's nothing for the people that you love. And once you start paying attention to your own tolerances and your own level of energy and what you're able to give, you start to get a bit more mindful of yourself. And people really use the word selfish in the wrong way, because taking care of yourself is not selfish. It's actually necessary. It's necessary for longevity. It's necessary to be able to take care of the people that are important to you as well as yourself. And if you're not optimized yourself in the basics that you need every single day, you simply cannot give to the world. So what does like self-optimization look like? An example of this would be, the old way would be multitasking. Oh, we're all so wonderful. Are you good at multitasking? Oh yeah, I can do 3 things at once. No, it's time to stop that. It's more about monotasking now. Start the task, complete the task. Did I make the breakfast? Am I happy with my breakfast? Did it fill my cup? Move on. Work. How many tasks can I possibly and physically complete today? Get them done. Close that book. Because we have learned through research that we can lose up to 42% of our concentration from jumping. But yet for decades, we considered this a badge of honor. It is not a badge of honor anymore. And this is why we have so much mental health issues, because we have not self-trained, or we don't have the tools to slow down, to know what we want, so that we can take care of ourselves and everybody else to the maximum of our potential in life. Because it's all about having a good life. It's all about finding harmony. It's not just work-life balance. It's harmony. How do I enjoy my work? How do I enjoy my family? And how do I enjoy myself? So many people are not able to sit with themselves. And I wasn't either. I'm not going to lie. I was so busy doing, I would fill my day. It was called toxic productivity or addicted to busyness. And it was so bad for my mental and physical and emotional health that I actually had a body full of dis-ease. I developed things that, symptoms like IBS and anxiety, things I never had when I was young, Sarah Jane, that just came into my life because I became almost addicted to toxic productivity and making sure that every minute was filled. So by retraining my brain, by slowing down, by using positive psychology tools and coaching tools that I learned, I was almost able to recalibrate fully how I was living my life. It took time. It wasn't easy, and it is not going to be easy for anybody who might be listening and realizes that they too have to make changes. But it doesn't have to be all at once. And, life is a journey for a reason. The present is a present, it's a gift. So we just have to brace ourselves to work through things slowly. We don't want to become toxically productive with giving to ourselves and living our best life and having this morning routine that's full of obsessions of, I have to do this. And then all of a sudden, an hour and a half has gone on the ritual of making your coffee and doing your yoga and journaling. It has to be realistic for people. And I think I live in that reality of, yes, I am mindful of my absolute non-negotiables. And I'd encourage the people watching today, what are your non-negotiables? And to give an example, Sarah Jane, one for me is exercise and a good breakfast. They might sound very basic given the world that I'm living in and the people that I'm working with, but I cannot perform optimally for my family, my children, my job, or all those difficult things that happen during a day when people wear multiple hats from morning to night. The days of wearing one hat and carrying it through the day are gone. We are now partners and fathers and mothers and professionals and friends and community contributors. So, what are your non-negotiables during the day? And if I was to carve out like some really simple tips for people, deciding what those non-negotiables are and sticking to them, making a boundary to stick to them, whether it's 3 times a week, twice a week, 5 times a week, it's your decision to make. The same as it's your decision on how your day is going to go. Today is going to be a great day is very different to, I can't believe I have to get out of the bed today. And your attitude charges everything. So that start of the day, what 3 things do I want to achieve today? Full stop. It doesn't need to be 20 things. We all have that, to-do list, Sarah Jane, that's 20 things long. 20 things in a day, they are not prioritized. There must be 3 priorities in there. Can you manage them? And everything else is an add-on. And this happens to people quite a lot, that the list just gets longer and longer and longer, but the tasks aren't equal. And it brings up this sense of stress and anxiety. A little is good because it makes you productive, but too much is just overall in the world. You cannot give the world the best of you if this kind of lifestyle is how you're living right now. And if people are to move through the day, finding glimmers in the day, what does that actually even mean? Something simple, something ordinary. My husband, he managed to make me a cup of tea. That is a glimmer. It can be that simple. I went for a walk today for 30 minutes and caught up with a friend. I got through that project and handed it in on time. I actually had a conversation that had been weighing on me for a couple of months. That's a glimmer. You're finding the good in the day. So you smile at someone, they smile back. That's a glimmer. You get home in time to watch your favorite TV show. That's a glimmer. And the psychology behind that is when you find the most joyous moments in your own life, the wins in your own day, that's how you show up in the world. And that's how you're able to be that joyful, positive person. You're also tricking your brain to think positively and see the positive in every single day. 70,000 thoughts a day, 95 are repetitive. If we can make those positive, you're looking at a very good life. And speaking of life, Sarah Jane, the average person has 900 months to live. And I've heard this so many times. 300 are spent sleeping, 600 are spent living, and For me, half of those are gone. So how do you plan to live your final 300 months? And for some people it's less, and for younger people it's more, but to keep that perspective in mind and see those glimmers in the every single day. I know another word for it is gratitude, but sometimes we get tired talking about gratitude and mindfulness. So see the glimmers in every day and then finish your day. And every day would look complete by waking up and choosing how you're going to be today, setting your priorities, finding the glimmers, and then ending the day with a really simple 60-second reflection. 3 things that went well today, 2 things I'd like to improve on, and 1 thing I'm really proud of. And that framework that comes from coaching, it makes it so easy for us to reflect. And we all know reflection is so important to how we choose to live our day tomorrow and the day after and the day after.
Yeah, so much information there. I'm one of these people that I've learned to praise myself. You've done really well today. Even if I haven't achieved as much as I'd hoped I would, you've done really well. And sometimes I'll do it at lunchtime, as well as doing it in the evening, because it's not about praise from others. It's about, are we proud of ourselves? But the thought that went through my head while you were talking was, some of us are morning people and some of us are more productive of an afternoon or even of an evening. I'm definitely not one of those of an evening. I'm much more of a morning person. Personally, I can do this because I set myself the energies. I know I require the energy. Plus the fact I trust the universe. So I'm one of these people, and it's just like, it's okay. I do think about, what am I going to be doing today? What have I got? And it's like, if I don't get something done, I don't get it done. It's that simple. And I am one of these people. I take the time out to go for a walk. I make it very deliberate. I say to so many clients, give yourself me time, give yourself a break. If you're working in an office, go out at lunchtime. Get yourself away from your desk. I have a relatively set routine, and some of us require that. Some people are much better at the being able to do things off the cuff suddenly and immediately. I tend to need a little bit of notice, but I have my breakfast. I absolutely have my breakfast. Mid-morning, I will try and get a walk in. I will have a lunch break because I work for myself, but working for myself is having to be really strict at doing that. I will try and get a walk in the afternoon. You can clear your head if you've gone into an overstressed state.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more, Sarah Jane. And the WHO recommends 150 minutes of exercise per week. So you've just told me that you actually need to get your walks in, that they're around lunchtime, and that you need the time out for you. Everybody needs the time out for them, even if they don't give it to themselves. And so you spoke about walking. Walking brings fluidity and motion to your mind as well as your body. So thoughts that are stuck can actually become very, very clear when we walk. Stuckness in the body, energy that's stuck, stagnant, that simplicity of walking, it's free, it doesn't cost you anything, but to consciously decide that today is a great day for a walk. They say if you're a good morning person, that 15 minutes in the morning sunshine absolutely helps your circadian rhythm as well. And we all know the importance of sleep, and more research comes out all the time to show us the importance of our circadian rhythm. What does that mean? What time does it suit me to go to bed? What time do I naturally wake up at? And everybody is different. So we talk about that work-life harmony. That is work, that is family and community, but it's also self. How do I optimize me for the rest of the world as well as for myself? Is that a non-negotiable for you, Sarah Jane? I'm guessing it is to walk and that. And people love routine, and routine is good. The brain wants to keep us in routine too. It wants to follow the same patterns over and over again. And like we spoke about earlier, if you're in a constant negative cycle, if you're stuck in stuck mode, if you can't see the glimmers in your day, if you're unable to reflect in the evening, or you've never actually practiced it, try it. Try it for 1 week and watch the change. All you'd have to do is add in 15 minutes of walk, 60 seconds of reflection in the evening, and most importantly, a decision in the morning about how your day is going to go. Because once you decide, your brain goes that way with you. Add in a few coaching tools and frameworks, and you have a recipe for a really good lifestyle every day. But the biggest thing you told me, Sarah Jane, is you actually slowed down to optimize your life, and you know what you need. Lots of people don't slow down. They think they are self-aware. So what does that mean statistically? There was a recent research done to show that 85%, Brené Brown did a study on people who believe on self-awareness. And when she asked the question of thousands and thousands of contributors, 85% of them said, I'm self-aware. I know what I do. I know what I'm about. I know what I like. When they actually put them through the testing, it transpired that only 10 and a maximum of 15% were actually self-aware. So I thought I was self-aware before I went through a coaching program of my own to learn that I very much wasn't, Sarah Jane. I was constantly going, constantly giving. In fact, it was really difficult for me to slow down, to actually think, what do I want out of this interaction? How do I even like my eggs in the morning? Am I wearing these clothes for me, or am I wearing them to please the people I'm going to meet? And all of those movements into please other people is something that we do in society a lot. And it takes away our decision making for ourselves. It takes away our potential to live to our best, to live harmoniously, and that's okay. Because society and social media have told us that, no, this is the way you should be. Let's watch that person who's that amazing life, who made $1 million overnight. No, they didn't. That's unrealistic expectation. And that's another thing I wanted to address today was you can't give the world the best of you with what's left of you if you've got consistent, unrealistic expectations of yourself and of others. And there's judgment in that. There's self-judgment. We're judging ourselves if we're not performing at 100% every day. And we start to judge others because we have that expectation. And so just like you lie into a bath and relax your body, you know, that image of relaxing your mind is really powerful. How I use that is I speak to my mind in the third person. I speak to my brain in the third person. Why? Because for a long time, my own mind controlled me. That cognitive triangle of my thoughts led to negative feelings, led to negative actions, led to more negative thoughts about myself and more negative feelings. So I had to break that circuit. And for my clients as well, I see this a lot, Sarah Jane, they're not actually able to compliment themselves directly. So they have to speak to themselves in the third person. For example, well done, Claire, you did a good job there. I found that really difficult, and I'm not sure how you feel about that. But the way I overcame it was by using my brain and by giving it a name and by giving it a personality, you know, so personalization or personification, as we say in English. And I'm able to tell him now when to go to bed. And I actually see him as a funny cartoon character in my mind, because that helped me to overcome the power of my mind, because I have a powerful mind. I just need to know how to use it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, I have no problems with sort of, Sarah, you've done brilliantly today. I have no problems with that. But just going back to a couple of points, number of years ago, quite a number of years ago now, I sort of attended a course on being able to sort of speak and actually sort of stand up on a stage. I don't actually tend to have too much of a problem with that. But one of the things, it was just like, you know, sort of, you know, the way you dress, think about how you dress, think about sort of And they said about sort of makeup for women. And I said, really? And they said, oh yes, you should absolutely wear makeup. And I was thinking, if I've got to dress up and be fancy, potentially be dripping in gold and wearing makeup and have a fancy hairdo, for you to take me seriously,
Mm.
I'm not being authentic.
Mm-hmm.
That is not who I am. And if I'm not comfortable in how I'm showing myself to be, I am not, I am not a great one for going to the hairdressers. Sort of, but
All things.
it's, and the makeup. So for doing this, I put a tiny bit of lipstick on, a little bit of color, but that is it. I spent years of masses of makeup, and
Yeah.
I'm just not going there anymore. This
No.
is who I am. That makeup was how I hid who I was.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really important. And the other thing for me is wind down time at the end of the day. Get my head out of work. And I tend to do that by doing a Sudoku and a code word, because
Mm-hmm.
making my mind think about something other than, and because I complete them, I'm not going to bed thinking, what could that word be? Why couldn't I get those numbers, etc., etc.? I've completed them, or I've said, can't do that. I've done something wrong, cross through it. It's finished.
I love that, Sarah. What you're telling me there is that you are aligning to your values.
Yeah.
And what your values and your belief system about what you truly are. So at first you said, well, I can't wear makeup anymore, and if I have to show up like this, it means I'm not living and aligning with the values and beliefs that I have about the life I want to live. Therefore, I'm not going to show up as my best version. So if I'm pretending to be something else, it's no good. So that's the first thing I heard. The second thing I heard is you do actually orchestrate life for your mind. You do actually tell it to shut off. You do consciously give yourself wind down time. And what that says is, I know what I'm about. I know what I value, and I value switch off time, and I value entertainment in a different way so that I'm ready to sleep and get my sleep cycle in. And what it all goes back to for me when I hear you speak is, am I aligned to the life that I want to live? And am I showing up as my most authentic self? Sounds like you are. And therefore, when people meet me, they're getting the true me, the authentic me. I'm living by my values and beliefs. So I am very self aware.
And authenticity is what we should all be doing, what we should all be bringing. It's not a matter of, oh, but they want me to do this, they want me to do that, they want me to do the other. It's what am I choosing? It's not a matter of what do I want, what do I need? It's what am I choosing? And are we also going out there and helping make those things happen for ourselves? Sort of, I work with energy, I work with sound, I use Reiki. So it's energy for me. And I'm one of these people who truly trusts in the universe. And I don't see things, I don't hear things. It's a knowing with me. And so the knowing is really important within my life. But I'm also a great one for getting out the dowsing pendulum just to do a double check every now and again.
Very good. We all have our ways. We all have our ways. It means what you touched on there for me, Sarah Jane, is energy. As we know, and Einstein proved, the world is full of energy and atoms, and we are all energy. And if I was to reflect on when I wasn't giving myself the best of myself to the world, I was doing a lot of reflexology, and it was all about energy. And when the reflexologist would work on my feet, I would actively feel it in my body. So hugely aligned with you, and the fact that the universe does have our back. Whatever the universe means to everybody, whatever that energy field is to everybody, it has true meaning in the world, and we are all connected by energy. And in the times when I was struggling to get unstuck, when I was giving the world the worst of me or trying to perform, I would say that that reflexologist told me, and she was not incorrect, she was right. She said to me, Claire, you've lost your power and it's time to take it back. And you need to be mindful of the energy field that's around you. And the time is now to take that power back. And actually, it's your fault because you're the one who gave it away in the first place.
Yeah.
Sarah Jane, the first thought that came into my head was, I'm not sure I like that. Why? Because she was right. I had given my power and my energy to everybody around me. Their energy dictated how I reacted, the highly sensitive person, the empath. And I was completely unaware that I was doing that until she called me out on it. And when she called me out on it, I was able to take immediate action, and I absolutely never looked back. It also helped that she was a Gestalt psychologist as well as a reflexologist, so I was getting a double whammy of education. But it was in the education, Sarah Jane. She called me out, she educated me, and I had the growth mindset to grow out of it and to focus on myself to know, well, that's not going to work that way anymore, and I need to change. And I suppose it's worth finishing on our conversation on this topic because people are constantly searching outwardly for their answers. People are constantly signing up to, for example, weight loss programs, coaching programs, therapists, whatever it is. But in actual fact, I might be a coach, but people need to be ready for change. And when people decide that they are ready for change and they want change, they begin to look inwardly at what has worked in the past, what hasn't worked in the past, and how they are going to change that. And it doesn't have to be overwhelming. Over 90% of the human race stay in comfort zone all their lives, which means they're hugely resistant to change. But you're here, you're showing the world, to be your authentic self, you need to take off the shackles, take off the big rucksack that's on your back, just be you. That requires change. That requires resetting your attitude to life, having an open and growth mindset to be able to see how you were, to become self-aware, and to make small, tangible changes. 1% per day makes you 37 and a half times better by this time next year. So 2025, Christmas of 2025 could be looking very good for a lot of people who watch your program and know, well, if I change one thing and I practice that for a couple of weeks, how do I feel about that? Okay, let's add on a little habit stack. And gradually over time, we evolve as humans to live our best, most authentic lives, and therefore give the world the best of us rather than what is left of us.
And that is so true. I mean, I had my wake up call, which stopped me from being the people pleaser, and it didn't happen immediately, but it certainly definitely happened. And the way I put it with my second husband was we were living in parallel ruts.
Okay.
He was living in a rut that was lined with rose petals. Mine was lined with rose thorns.
Okay.
How uncomfortable has your comfort zone got to get before you step outside of it? But the biggest enlightenment, or one of them, I've had numerous of them, was our comfort zone is outside of us. And there's that saying, nothing grows in your comfort zone.
Exactly.
The comfort zone is outside of us. If we choose to grow, and you are using very much the word change, but I like to think of it as growth, growing beyond where we are today. But where we are, it has been a gift to us to move us forward the next step. To step outside of our comfort zone is to step back into ourselves. And slowly I began to understand that. And it was just like, yeah, I don't have to step outside my comfort zone. I just got to step back into me.
Yeah.
I haven't got to go any further outside anything. It's just about coming back. And that's so important.
Yeah, that self-awareness, that I think your attitude is amazing to be able to say, to step outside my comfort zone is how I'm going to grow. And if you consider any seed, and let's take it to the environment, any seed, it needs to grow to reach optimization, the best self, the most and highest potential that we choose to reach. It needs to be nurtured. It needs some nice conditions. It needs some soil and some food. And essentially, it aims to grow. So if we consider us like a tree or a flower or anything else, we just want to grow, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. And to do that, we have to stay in growth mindset. And you've told me that you do that. And to stay in growth mindset, there actually needs to be consistency as well. Am I willing to see that a different way? Am I willing to see myself in a different way? Am I willing to see people's reactions to my authentic self in a different way? Because that removes the people pleasing and that removes the imposter syndrome. When I show up as my authentic self, am I ready for the pushback? Am I ready for some friction? You know, a thunderstorm will come and knock a flower down. A thunderstorm will come and break some branches off my tree. Am I ready to embrace that and be comfortable with the uncomfortable, which is our growth zone?
Yeah. And it's also when somebody says something that selfish, that's the perfect word. You're being selfish. That is a projection. And when we realize that when people start saying things like that to us, there are times when people can genuinely be the true meaning of selfish. But when you're being true to yourself and the energies of what they are asking you to do, say, be, don't resonate with your energy, your no. And what you have to realize is your no to somebody else is your yes to yourself. But your no to somebody else could be the biggest gift they ever receive, although they may not like it at the time.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And, you know, for individuals who are trying to grow and change and evolve and give the world the best of them, there is that that we need to be willing to do it. And when we say no to others, we are saying yes to us. So can you come to my party on Friday night? I can't. But what are you saying yes to? You're saying time for you on what you choose to do. So back to choices and decision making. If we're choosing to live our most authentic life, if we're choosing to grow and evolve, we need to be ready for the kickback. We need to be ready for the resistance, because people don't like change. It's human nature. And so if they see something that they've always been familiar with in one way, aka Sarah Jane, changing and evolving, it takes time. And unless they have an open mindset, they might not be happy with the change. And, you know, that is difficult because you have to overcome boundaries with yourself. Maybe you have been boundaryless and now you're setting boundaries. Maybe you have been the people pleaser and now you've become, you know, a little bit more conscientious of your time and a little bit more self-centered. But this is a good thing, because then when you commit to things outside of you, you're able to give it the best of you. You're able to commit. So I, for example, Sarah Jane, would have spread myself too thin always. Everything. I was asked to help here, I would help. I was asked to help there, I'd help, because I like helping. But it's the empath and the people pleasing and all of those things that actually sent me into a spiral of burnout myself. And, you know, things like I didn't suffer from before that came into my life. I didn't really align with my values. I didn't really align with who I truly wanted to be. And it led me into dis-ease. And so if your audience are listening and if they are trying to make small changes to give everybody else the best of them, what they must realize is that there will be kickback. Small changes are best with consistency and a great attitude to match. And then they will live their most authentic lives and they will be able to fulfill the life that they want to live. Remembering we only have an average of 900 months to live, 300 sleeping, 600 living, 300 possibly behind me. So, you know, when you put things into perspective like that, it really does give yourself permission to live the life that you want to live. We only have one. We might as well enjoy it and live it the way we want to live it, in whatever way that looks to you.
100%. You know, sort of helping others For me, it's about supporting others to help themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here. I'm not a doing. I am a being. It is about helping you to be the best you that you can. And there was a situation a few years ago within the family, and I was asked something and I said no. Yes. But in the process, what I did was give other members of the family the courage to say no to things when it wasn't right for them.
Mm-hmm.
So the biggest gift you can bring to somebody is realizing that they can say no, that they can feel, do you know what, that's not right for me. I can say no to this.
Yeah.
And members of the family are now learning to say no.
Absolutely. And, you know, for a lot of people, especially if you're in a small community or rural community, a family community, it is very, very hard to say no, especially if elder people ask you to do something or it's a favor. But I think what's really nice for people who are trying to transition into that, if they've not got boundaries, is be able to say yes more slowly. If that's a more gentle movement into it, is be able to say yes more slowly. What does that look like in real terms when you're faced with somebody in your family asking you to do something? Saying yes more slowly is pausing, first of all. You know, a realistic tip in real life would be pause. Give yourself 3 seconds to think, hold on a minute. Do I have the time? Do I want to do it? If I'm saying yes to this, what am I saying no to? And then allowing yourself that couple of seconds to say, I'll get back to you on that when I check my schedule. I'd love to help at some stage. It might not be this time, but ask again in future. So easing yourself into new ways is a little bit more tangible for people, I think, than just saying a flat out no, or, you know, change. We're using the word grow instead of change. We're using the words saying yes more slowly instead of no. And I think that's the biggest resistance for people. The first time they take action on this to, you know, move towards living their most authentic life is to be able to gravitate away from what they don't want and quietly quit old habits. So I think that's a gentler approach for a lot of people who would find this really difficult, is quietly quitting, saying yes more slowly, subtle but consistent changes, setting a boundary for the first time gently, and then letting people know that this is how I can be, and you can be that way too. And we are enabling other people, but we are giving people the best of us by enabling them to make their decisions. We're not enablers. We are just empowering them to make their own decisions, as by showing them how we're doing it, by showing up for ourselves.
100%. One of the things is, so I'm thinking about what you were saying about that pause. It's, can you give me 12 hours, 24 hours? I'll get back to you later. And if you're thinking, right, that aspect of that really doesn't work for me, and you can go back and you can say, look, really can't support you with that bit, but what I can do for you, if that works, is, so you're not saying a full no, but you're not saying 100% yes.
Yeah.
And the number of times I've said yes and I thought, oh, what the blooming did I do that for?
And the thing is, Sarah,
and I've made offers and I thought, Sarah, why did you do that?
Yeah.
You know, because we like to help people and support people and think about people. But do you know what? We have to give people choices as well as having choices ourselves.
And if you think about that, Sarah Jane, from the other perspective, it's like, well, how do they see that? And we're so obsessed about people pleasing and making sure that I'm okay with that. Am I okay with that person? Like, actually, when you give a reply like you just gave, I can't do it this time. I can do this for you, but I can't do that. They don't care. They've gotten the reply. People genuinely don't care as long as you have given them an answer, a yes or a no. And if it's a maybe, what are the 2 choices? And I'd only keep it to 2 choices, but it all comes back to setting boundaries, trying not to people please. And sometimes that boundary has to be with yourself. No, I'm not going to work 50 hours this week. I'm going to say yes to me. That means that I'm saying no to something else. And sometimes the boundary is with yourself, because we are so quick to say yes. I used to say yes before people even finished the sentence. I used to feel guilty if I ever even thought about saying no. And that guilt and that fear of failure or fear of not pleasing people, genuinely help where you can and don't where you can't.
Oh, 100%. This has been brilliant, and to a certain degree, so much on my wavelength.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Claire. Anything that we haven't touched on that you would like to add before we actually finish?
I think we covered a huge amount, to be honest with you. I think the biggest thing for people who are trying to grow and evolve and live their most authentic lives and give the world the best of them is that it starts with them. And a huge amount of women in the world suffer this a lot more, Sarah Jane, than men, because we are empaths and givers, and we feel responsibility more biologically, and all the other EQ, IQ, GQ aspects. And I've developed a program on that, and it's really because women do suffer more. So if you're out there, this is not a disrespect to men at all, because they absolutely suffer, and in many different ways, and they are very good to serve, the world. But for women, they're so good to serve the world that they forget to serve themselves. And that's probably my final message is, for your female audience out there, is don't forget to serve yourself, especially at Christmas time and into the new year, when you've decided that you want to step into your authentic self and live a fulfilled life.
Claire, thank you so very much. I've put her website address, Claire's website address, into the chat. And for those of you that are watching the video sort of through YouTube, I've put it in the information below the video. If this has really spoken to you, you want to explore more of what Claire does, please go to her website, check it out, and connect with her. At the end of the day, we share these programs to support you. And I hope that it's done that for you. I really do. And as I'm sure Claire does.
Absolutely. And thanks for having me, Sarah Jane. And best of luck, and happy Christmas to all of those people watching your YouTube videos, this one and many more. And hopefully it's leading them to live their most authentic lives.
Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure. Next week, we've got a today's conversation for you: radical self and soul empowerment for this and the coming months. And our guest is Patricia Kerins. So I hope you will think about joining us for that. Claire, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you to all of you for watching. Take care, be safe, stay well. Namaste, sweet souls.
Namaste.